All right, Mike, the final decision was announced Thursday. Cleveland Brown quarterback Deshaun Watson, he's banned for 11 games, fined $5 million. Really not going to miss that money. It's not a big deal to him right now. But I think it's ironic he's eligible to return on December the 4th versus his old team, the Texans, down in Houston. So that's going to be an interesting reintroduction all the way around, not only to the season, but in the place where all this trouble for him started.
Yeah, the cynic in me says, really? You came up with 11 games and it's going to start at his old team, you know?
Yeah.
And we won't even get into – he claims he's still innocent. That's a whole different story. We're just reporting on the fact that he's going to return against his old team, the Texans. And, you know, a lot of insiders think the Browns may sign another experienced quarterback because right now Jacoby Brissett is listed as the number one. I have a little more respect for him than some handicappers and other analysts do. A lot of casinos have their over-under win total off the board. But I saw DraftKings has an 8.5. Another offshore place has 8. Star quarterback missing. That looks a little bit high because he's going to miss 11 games, which is approximately 65% of the season. But, you know, Brissett, he's won in this league before, and the Browns are built on the run game and defense.
Yeah, and he won with a team that I think overall was really less talented than this Browns team, at least potentially anyway. I think when you look at the run game that the Browns have with former Georgia Bulldog Nick Chubb, I think that gives Brissett a lot of confidence that he's not going to be, you know, as a quarterback, the last thing that you want is that defense to know that you're one-dimensional. And with Chubb, he does not have to worry about that. And listen, the Browns won with Baker Mayfield. Okay. Now, not as much as probably they should have. And I'm not saying that Baker Mayfield was the end all be all in Cleveland, but they did win some games. And I don't think that Jacoby's that big of a step down from Baker Mayfield, you know, and the defense, they're getting better. They did a better job stopping the run game last year, only gave up 20, 21 points per game last year.
Yeah. And that's a good number to give up in this day of high scoring. I believe that's better than middle of the pack. And, you know, their division, you got the Steelers, they're going to be down. You've got the Bengals, they're in that, you know, notorious Super Bowl hangover year, because especially the team that loses the Super Bowl, they even suffer even more, it seems, historically. Mm-hmm. And but I think Cleveland has a reasonable shot at making the postseason. But it's going to be interesting to see if they go out and sign someone else, because I would personally bet, I would rather, if I have an over bet on their win total, I would rather have Brissett at the helm than some of these quarterbacks they're considering signing.
And let's transition now to college football. Hard to believe, but we've got college football, real college football this weekend. Several games are kicking off on Saturday. And Nebraska has named Texas transfer Casey Johnson as the starter at quarterback, and they're opening versus Northwestern in Dublin, Ireland. And this is an offense that is now being under the tutelage of Mark Whipple, who was at Pitt for the last several years. And again, Kenny Pickett has talent. You know that I think a lot of him. That's why I was so high on Pitt last year. But again, it's the good combination between a good coordinator and a good quarterback, and they mesh together, because you can have a great coordinator and a great quarterback. And if they don't mesh, then you're not going to see the results that the general public thinks that they should see. And quite frankly, that they're underperforming, to be quite frank with you. But again, with Whipple and Pickett, it was a great mesh. And I want to see this year if Casey Thompson and Whipple can mesh. And I don't think Casey Thompson is going to put up the kind of numbers that Kenny Pickett did. But again, we'll be able to see if he makes the right throw at the right time, doesn't try to force things, then we'll know that those two guys are on the same page.
Yeah, that game is Saturday, August 27th. Likely the best game on the board. You've got a lot of mid-major to low level conference teams playing that weekend, that Saturday. The game kicks off at 12:30. They're playing in Ireland, so that's going to be worth watching. Plus, it's going to have the entire stage to itself. That's the only game in that time slot. Hey, Scott Frost, he's on the hot seat at his alma mater. I personally think he's the very best fit for Lincoln, but these fans, they're impatient. We've seen it.
Yeah, we have. I mean, remember Frank Solich, another Nebraska alum who took them to the championship game, who was winning 10 games a year. All of a sudden, it just wasn't good enough.
He took them to the BCS title game.
Exactly, but it just was not good enough. And the same thing, if you think about it, that game, that the title game that he went to, he squared off against Larry Coker down in Miami. And if you take away a pitiful pass interference call in the Fiesta Bowl, the next year, Larry Coker is a god. He's won back-to-back national titles, but instead that program kind of nosedived, and Coker got out of coaching. But it's going to be interesting to see. This kicks off. We talk about. It's the only game in its time slot, and they're the marquee game of opening week. I don't think it's and again, this has been planned for a while, and they didn't put this together last week. But I don't think it's any coincidence that the Big Ten has expanded their television base from coast to coast, and they're going to kick off the season, a conference game. All eyes are going to be on them because everybody's hungry for college football right now.
Yeah, it's about the money. It's about the ratings, and at least they're doing it. Fox and the Big Ten, they were doing the game a little bit earlier than 12 and putting a lot of spotlight on that early game. And I think it paid off some, but let's be honest, those games at noon, they would call it big kickoff at noon or whatever they would call it.
The big game.
The big game, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but here's the thing. The big game didn't get the big ratings because the big ratings are always at 3:30 Eastern in the primetime game, but that's a whole different subject. Hey, Coach, I'm looking forward to next week. I'm going to go to Atlantic City, going to do some college football and NFL futures, then back to Vegas, going to bet some more futures if the numbers are better there. And for the first time, Gamesday Sportsradio is going to send a crew with me and to help handle video footage and interviews.
Well, that's nice of them. I had no idea. Obviously, you're on a different pay scale than I am with Gamesday Sportsradio. They send me a ham sandwich and a laptop. Okay. Well, hey, so when are you going to be in Vegas?
The 27th, the day of that opening day of college football.
Well, listen, we're out there doing an UNLV future. Of course, in this land of NIL now, you're going to see a lot of programs who have, let's say, their destination places. They feel like that they can get back into the game. And UNLV is one of those places because obviously, as you very well know, you have a home there and everything else. Vegas is a place that people like to go to. There's a lot of advertising, marketing money in Vegas. And I think UNLV is going to try to take advantage of this. We're going to sit down with some of their folks while we're out there, and maybe we can get together. I can get a meal off that Gamesday Sportsradio expense account or something.
If game day doesn't pay for it, I will.
Good deal. We'll take that all day long. Now, before we go, we talked about UNLV. Okay. If you can answer this question, you can pick the restaurant. If you can, I pick the restaurant. Okay. All right.
Wait, but Michael's is off the list, right? I don't want to pay $500 a plate.
Yeah. Hey, you know me, I'm an In-N-Out guy. I'm an In-N-Out burger guy. So, I just might get a double or something. All right. Who is the winningest coach in UNLV history?
John Robinson.
You would think that would be the knee-jerk reaction. because here's the guy that's won national championships at USC and very successful in the NFL. And he was successful at UNLV by UNLV standards. But
those are very low, by the way.
Exactly. And the winningest coach in UNLV history is the only coach who has a winning percentage of over 500 at UNLV. And that's Ron Meyer. He was
really,
yeah. He was like 27-8 before he left and went to SMU and started riding the Pony Express.
Yeah, took all that Vegas money and went and paid the players in Dallas.
That's exactly right. All right, Mike. Well, listen. Now, seriously though, let's catch up. We'll synchronize some schedules and because I know we'll be out there at least 2 days. You're going to be. You get there the 27th.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll be out there at least a couple of days together. So we'll try to get together and do some stuff during downtime or what have you.
Absolutely. Look forward to it, Coach.
Same here. All right.